Hello everyone and welcome to another video, and I think a lot of you guys thought this was gonna be a clickbait video, but it's actually not. So here we are looking at the relation between the torque and the horsepower. So I have to say, disclaimer to this video, this is not exact science. So this is just an indication where you should shift the car. So not more than that. It always comes down to the car and your, I would say, track limits and what you'd have to do on the track. But this gives you a pretty clear indication on where to shift for the maximum efficiency of the car and where you will actually get the most. And I think a lot of that straight line speed. Of course, the straight line speed is very important, but also some cornering speed and also some stability with the car. So guys, let's go and jump into the video and have a look at how much benefits are we actually getting from this one. And this is a pretty good example where you can actually see on the left 7,500 RPM versus 6,700 RPM. I said in the beginning of this video that 6,500 RPM is probably the best for this car, but I decided to give you a little bit of feedback or where I think and what you should be doing to get more out of a car. So we can see straight off the line immediately a real benefit. So I'm short shifting the car quite a lot at the right while I'm really revving up the car on the left. So it's clear to see, like, I'm getting so much straight line speed, and at this point I'm 7.5 tenths up, almost 8 tenths before the braking zone, but you always want to maximize your track limits and everything. So I didn't quite do that here, so there was a little bit of area in between that you can use, but still almost a second up at this point. I'm always exiting higher gears rather than, let's say, third gear on the left hand side. You can also see that most of the time I'm not even downshifting in the third gear, but I'm always staying in, let's say, fourth and then upshifting into fifth gear. So 7,500 RPM on the left hand side, once again 6.7 RPM on the right. The benefits are huge. So at this point 1.3, almost, it's going to be 1.5 seconds clear advantage. So nothing, nothing that I would say that you're getting a disadvantage from this. And also the other thing, that this car is pretty good with fuel saving just for this one. So whenever you short shift, the car is much more fuel efficient, and of course it's better in the race where you actually have to short shift the car, like it was Catalunya a week ago. But here you can actually see this really good benefit, and I think for a lot of you guys this is going to help. I mean, in the future, whenever you're racing and you need to save a little bit of fuel, this is going to be massive. But now I would like to show you that 6,500 RPM is even making a bigger difference than 6.7. So just about those 200 RPM, I would say it doesn't really make that much of a difference, but it does make a difference. So almost a tenth up on the straight. And I think this track, Monza, was pretty good example because you got a lot of long straights and also a couple of braking zones. But as you can see on the left, I didn't quite get the first chicane right and I lost a bit of time on the way in. But it's clear to see that whenever I'm upshifting, because I'm not even matching up the gears that much, so I'm kind of trying to get to 6.5k, but it's not always perfect. You're always missing something, but I was trying to really focus on that and get it up to 6.5k. So as you can see, straight line speed advantage, it's clear as day. Fourth gear and fifth gear on the way out as soon as you can, and of course do not downshift. I mean, a little bit of a downshift there, and then once again almost at the 6.5k. I'm upshifting into fifth gear, and once again very early in the sixth. So as you can see, the distance and the amount of speed that you're getting out of this one is huge. So I would say close to a half a second of advantage, and of course much more stability whenever you're getting out of certain corners. For example, here in fourth gear the back of the car would slide a bit, but there I stayed in fifth gear and I had a lot more stability, even though the exit wasn't the best. I mean, I'm still trying to pick up a little bit of time. So I would say 4 tenths was pretty optimum. And at the same time, in the previous lap I'm kind of upshifted. I tried to upshift at about 6.7k, but sometimes I upshifted a little bit earlier, so you can see a little bit of a difference here and there. But this was the true explanation of this one and how it works. So On the other side, I use the WRX on Red Bull Ring, and we just gonna have a look at the power curve. So the power curve tells us that we are reaching approximately 573 horsepower, and we need to match it up at about 8, and I would say in the range of 8.2 to 8.3 thousand revs. So this is a perfect area where you should rev up the car, and sometimes it's actually about revving up the car quite a lot, and sometimes not even upshifting in the higher gear, but just staying in that lower gear, which I'll show you here, and then then you'll pick up a little bit more time as we go. So once again, I have a clear difference from the left to the right. It's not a lot, as I said before. You always trying to reach the maximum amount of revs, but I did try to get close to 7.9. I was really focused on what I was doing there, but you can see on the right hand side 8.1 thousand RPM is beating 7.9 by quite a lot. So Red Bull Ring is a pretty short track. You can easily make a mistake, but also you need to maximize the efficiency of the gear shifts on the straights. You can see I'm revving up the car quite a lot, but not as much as I probably could. So it's always that little bit of difference that you have from from the graph, what it's telling you, and the actual straight line speed and the actual track speed that you're getting out of some certain areas. And at this point I'm 1.5 tenths up. I'm trying to use the same lines, but you can see I'm losing a bit of time there in the corners, because I try to push it a little bit too much. But as we go out of the certain corners, so you can see I'm short shifting on the left, and straight clear difference, almost 2 tenths up, and we're gonna get to the last part of the corner, sorry, last part of the lap, and you will see a clear difference. Even though sometimes you pick up a penalty, and then it's very hard to kind of closely compare the two situations, but 3 tenths up, I didn't work that much, and I just tried to give you a clear indication of what I'm doing here. So once again, I'm using a different car, which has a slightly different approach. So you can see the peak torque is quite high, but it's very high when you're trying to match up with the torque. So I would say that this car is pretty unique and pretty difficult to understand. But on the left hand side we got 7,000 RPM, and on the right we got 6.7 thousand RPM. But there is a clear difference on the right, so just those 300 RPM less, and this car got me up to almost 3 tenths up on the straight. So 3 tenths is quite a lot of time, but again, I kind of outbrake myself and lost it all. But you can see, even though I lost a bit of time, I'm making that time on the straight by just short shifting. So I'm saving fuel. So whenever you need to save fuel, you can have a look at the power curve and then decide if the car is good for a certain track, or is it maybe not so great. But it's always difficult. It's always very difficult until you really test out the car. But I would say we are very early in this game, so I think a lot of these things are gonna change. As they change the BOP, some cars will slightly get downgraded, the other cars might get upgraded a little bit, but it's always the same principle. So you always have to look at the power curve and then decide, this car might be good, or this car, needs to be revved up quite a lot, and this car sometimes needs to be, a little bit easier, taken a little bit easier, and just even taking a bit more time to upshift or downshift. But you can see, even though I picked up a penalty, this was like 7 thousandths of a second quicker. I mean, in the end, not a huge difference, but if you match up your revs, and if you do it properly, if you do like 2 exactly same laps with a different with different style of upshifting or downshifting, you will definitely get a huge difference. So guys, I hope you like this video. I'm very happy where this channel is going. So if you think this deserves a like or even a subscribe, so please feel free to subscribe and like this video. So guys, once again, thank you very much for watching this, and I'll catch you guys next time. Bye.